The Generals of the Yang Family, Chapter 36.
Picture a terrifying, practically invincible, magical military array.
Right, something completely impenetrable.
Exactly. It's surrounded by dark fog, it's manned by veteran warriors, and it is just steeped in ancient sorcery. Now, picture that exact same fortress being completely defeated.
And not by the methods you'd expect either.
No, not at all. Not by a brilliant cavalry charge, not by a barrage of flaming arrows, and definitely not by a heroic sword fight. It gets defeated by a deeply personal, incredibly stern lecture about public decency.
It's an image that just completely upends everything we think we know about ancient military literature. I mean, it's wild.
We're digging into this bizarre, absolutely fascinating intersection of military strategy, magical realism, intense family drama, and the deep psychology of authority.
Yeah, we're essentially asking a question that you probably face in your own life, like
Mhm.
how much of authority is actually real? And how much is just a shared illusion we all collectively agree to uphold?
Right, because it's everywhere.
Exactly. And what's remarkable about this text is that it doesn't just ask that question philosophically. It literalizes it on the battlefield. I mean, you might think ancient military texts are just dry, tactical manuals about rigid troop movements, right?
That's what I always assumed, just lines on a map.
Well, what we're looking at today is a sophisticated masterclass in psychological warfare. It's bureaucratic bluffing, and essentially it's ancient social engineering.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to jump straight into the literal ashes of our first scene. So we're at a place called Muke Fort, or, well, more accurately, we're standing in the smoking, charred ruins of Muke Fort.
Yeah, the destruction here is just absolute. A character named Meng Liang has just executed a devastating fire attack.
Just burn it to the ground.
Burned the whole thing down,
Yeah.
and then he fled off into the night toward Wutai Mountain.
Right, so the sun is coming up, the fire is dying down, and the entire front and back of the fort are just totally decimated. And standing right in the middle of this ruin is Guiying, the leader of the fort. And she is, understandably, completely furious.
Oh, her initial reaction is pure visceral vengeance. The text describes her anger as just filling her chest. She doesn't hesitate. She immediately starts gathering her surviving soldiers.
She wants blood.
Right. She's fully intending to march down the mountain, attack the Song Dynasty military camp, and exact a bloody revenge for this totally unprovoked arson.
Which, humanly speaking, makes perfect sense. I mean, if someone burns down your headquarters, your first instinct isn't usually, hey, let's go be friends with their boss.
No, definitely not.
Do you want to fight them? But this is where the text throws us our first massive curveball, and it's all thanks to one of her subordinates. This guy steps in and delivers what has to be the most cold-blooded, ruthlessly logical pivot I've ever read in a military text.
What's fascinating here is the rhetorical maneuvering this subordinate pulls off. It is absolutely brilliant. They essentially reframe the entire catastrophe in a matter of seconds.
It's incredible.
Yeah, shifting her focus entirely away from the trauma.
The subordinate basically says, look, Meng Liang only burned the fort down because you refused to come down from the mountain and join them in the first place. Now your fort is in ruins. Your base is gone.
The sunk cost.
Exactly. So why not just go help the Song Emperor? First, it secures a really good marriage for you, specifically to a young commander named Zongbao. And second, you get to build official merit and standing with the imperial court. So they're like, why hurt your relationship with them now?
The subordinate recognizes that the ruined fort is a sunk cost. Burning with rage and attacking the Song camp won't unburn the timber.
Right, the wood is gone.
It's gone. What attacking will do is guarantee Guiying's complete destruction by the state military.
Yeah.
So they shift her cognitive focus from the trauma of the past to the highly lucrative potential of the future.
And Guiying's reaction is astonishing to me. She doesn't argue. She doesn't throw a tantrum about her lost home. She just thinks about it for a second and agrees.
Just like that.
Yeah. She packs up all her surviving grain and supplies into carts, raises her golden flag, and literally marches her army straight to the Song camp to join the people who just burned her house down. I mean, is this the most aggressive corporate acquisition ever? Meng Liang basically burns down her headquarters to force a merger.
Oh, let me push back on that analogy just a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because while the modern corporate parallel is fun, we can't strip away the absolute life or death stakes operating here. This isn't a boardroom negotiation where the worst outcome is a lost pension. Right?
Yeah, true.
Guiying is the leader of a rogue power. She runs a mountain fortress operating independently of the state. In the geopolitical reality of this literature, independent rogue leaders really only have two paths:
Which are?
integration into the state apparatus or total annihilation.
Oh, wow. So you're saying Meng Liang's arson wasn't just a tactic, it was an ultimatum.
Exactly. The state cannot tolerate a powerful, independent military force sitting on its borders. Meng Liang's extreme tactics force her hand. And Guiying proves her intelligence precisely by not reacting like a wounded animal.
She evaluates outcomes, not emotions.
Right. She realizes that transitioning from a hunted rogue leader to a highly decorated state executive through marriage and military alliance is a massive upgrade. She basically trades her burnt wooden fort for imperial backing.
It shows an incredible emotional elasticity. Like, she goes from blood vengeance to let's go get married and secure government jobs in a single conversation.
It's peak pragmatism.
But okay, if Guiying represents this ultimate ruthless pragmatism, what happens when she collides with the ultimate rigid traditionalist? Because she's marching to the song camp fully intending to be the hero and the new bride, but her future in-laws haven't gotten the memo.
Which leads to a profound collision of expectations, biases, and just brutal misunderstandings.
Yeah, it's a mess. Guiying arrives near the song camp with her troops and her golden flag. And inside the camp is Lu Lang. He's the Yang's sixth brother, and crucially, the father of Zhongbo.
Who is Guiying's intended fiancé.
Right. So Lu Lang gets the report that the Mu Fort leader is approaching, but he doesn't think, great reinforcements. He assumes the absolute worst. He immediately brands her a cheap base woman who is only coming to seduce his son and ruin the army's discipline.
Notice how his strategic intelligence is completely blinded by his patriarchal anxiety.
Totally blinded.
He doesn't view her as a rival general or a displaced leader seeking asylum or even a tactical asset. He reduces her entirely to a disruptive, seductive force. He projects all his institutional fears about female influence onto her before she's even spoken a single word.
And he acts on that flawed intelligence immediately. He rides out with 5,000 troops and starts screaming at her to retreat or die. Now Guiying is furious.
As she should be.
Right. She's thinking, I just swallowed my pride, abandoned my ruined home, came here to help you, and you're insulting me. So they fight. And Lu Lang, this great, respected veteran, completely underestimates her.
To his absolute detriment, the combat sequence here is a masterclass in exploiting an opponent's hubris.
She fights him, quickly realizes she's technically superior, and then pulls a classic tactical feint. She pretends to lose, turns her horse to run, and when he inevitably chases her because he's absolutely certain he should be beating her, she turns around.
And just takes him out.
Yeah, she shoots him right in the left arm with an arrow, knocks him off his horse, captures him, and drags him back to her camp as a prisoner.
It's a spectacular failure on his part, driven entirely by his own prejudice. He just rushed in blind.
But the real kicker is the reveal. So she has him tied up in her camp, and suddenly, Meng Liang, the guy who burned her fort down, and Yang's fifth brother arrive at her camp. Guiying goes out to meet them, and Meng Liang points to the prisoner and asks why she captured his boss.
This is where it gets so tense.
Guiying says, "Who is this guy?" And Meng Liang replies, "That is your fiancé's father."
The realization must have been a bucket of ice water.
The text says she panics. I mean, she realizes she just shot and hogtied her future father-in-law. And she doesn't try to negotiate or hold it over him. She immediately jumps off her horse, unties him herself, puts him in the seat of honor, and physically bows down to beg for his forgiveness, claiming she didn't recognize him.
Now, let's pause and unpack the social dynamics happening in this exact moment, because it's incredibly illuminating for you as a listener trying to understand the worldview of this text.
Please do.
Think about what just happened physically. Guiying absolutely demolished Lu Lang in combat. She outsmarted him, outfought him, and took him prisoner. In a pure, objective martial sense, she is the superior power.
Right. She won the fight fair and square. If this were just about who is the strongest warrior, she's the boss now.
But the moment the familial relationship is revealed, the physical reality of her victory is instantly overridden by the social reality of their relationship.
It's like a switch flipped.
Instantly, she submits to the traditional hierarchy. She doesn't bow because he beat her. She bows solely because of his status as the father of her betrothed. In this universe, martial prowess ultimately bows to filial piety. The social structure is a heavier, more binding force than physical violence.
Okay, I'm tracking with you, but I have to wonder, is she actually bowing to filial piety, or is this just more of her extreme pragmatism? Like, she knows she can't marry Zongbao and get that state integration if she executes his dad, right? Isn't this just another corporate pivot?
Oh, that's a fantastic distinction. It's
Yeah.
likely a synthesis of both. She understands the rules of the game she just opted into. By bowing, she isn't necessarily admitting he's a better person. She's demonstrating to the Yang family that she understands and will submit to the Confucian social order.
She's proving she can be a team player.
Exactly.
And the proof that her strategy works is how the Yang matriarch, the Lingpo, who is the ultimate authority figure in the family, reacts when they all get back to camp. She doesn't scold Guiying for shooting her son. She actually praises Guiying.
Which is such a twist.
It really is. She looks at this incredibly dangerous, capable woman who just humiliated her son and says, "This girl is the perfect match for my grandson."
Because the matriarch represents the ultimate pragmatism of state survival. She looks past Lu Lang's bruised male ego and sees the raw tactical asset they just acquired.
She sees the value.
Right. The state needs Guiying's strength more than it needs to coddle Lu Lang's pride. Results matter more than tradition at the highest levels of leadership.
Okay, so the state has acquired this absolute powerhouse in Mu Guiying. But meanwhile, the guy she's supposed to marry, the young commander Zongbao, is dealing with some serious issues of his own.
He really is.
While Guiying is out here shooting veterans and forcing strategic alliances, Zongbao is currently struggling with a severe, life-threatening case of literal imposter syndrome.
Which manifests on the battlefield in a way that is both bizarre and completely logically consistent within the text's universe.
So let's set the scene. Zongbao goes out to scout the enemy's formation, the Heavenly Gate Array. He rides out on this beautiful white horse, which previously belonged to the enemy's Empress Xiao.
Very prestigious horse.
Right, so he's looking the part of the gleaming young hero. But then the enemy general, Han Yanshu, rides out, takes one look at him, and just screams at the top of his lungs, "Smell of milk, coward, don't run."
Calling him a wet behind-the-ears kid.
Exactly. And the result is baffling. The sheer volume, the shock, the psychic weight of this yell, it causes Zongbao to literally fall off his horse. He faints dead away on the battlefield.
Out cold?
His generals have to drag his unconscious body back to camp, and he has to be revived with a magical pill from a Taoist Zong. I mean, the great hero just gets yelled at, falls off his horse, and passes out. This is like a young tech CEO stepping out for a massive keynote presentation, hearing one heckler in the back row call him a rookie, and immediately fainting into a coma on stage.
I love that modern analogy, but we need to dig into the metaphysics of why this happens. When they revive him, the generals are incredibly worried. They point out the obvious. If he passes out from a single insult before the swords even clash, how is he ever going to command an army?
Yeah, you can't have a fainting general.
Right. But Taoist Zong steps in and explains that Zonbao didn't fall because he's physically weak or cowardly.
He fell because he isn't a full age.
Precisely. In the philosophical framework of the Song dynasty as presented in this text, age and spiritual maturity aren't just numbers. They act as a literal, tangible shield against an enemy's aggressive aura. It's not just about having a thick skin emotionally. It's about having the metaphysical weight of adulthood to anchor your spirit to the earth.
So his youth is an actual physical vulnerability.
Because Zongo is young, his spirit isn't heavy enough to withstand the psychic and martial weight of Han Yanshu's voice. That yell wasn't just loud. It carried the crushing, murderous intent of a seasoned veteran. Zongbao's imposter syndrome, his internal subconscious knowledge that he's essentially a kid playing general, makes his spirit fundamentally brittle. The enemy called him a child, and his spirit collapsed because, on some deep level, it knew the enemy was right.
That's fascinating. It takes that internal nagging feeling of, I don't belong here, I'm a fraud, and weaponizes it. Like if you don't truly believe you have the authority to be in the room, an enemy who does possess that authentic authority can just blow you over.
And that presents an immediate, critical, logistical crisis for the Song army. You have a commander whose very lack of years makes him metaphysically fragile, and the enemy array is right outside.
Right. You can't exactly just wait around for 5 years to let him mature. You need a commander right now. And the solution they come up with leads to one of the most conceptually wild rituals in the entire text. They decide to hack his authority.
It's a profound demonstration of how power and authority are actively constructed, rather than innate.
Taoist Zhang says Zongbao needs to be granted a heavy title, but more importantly, he needs to be granted his adult years by the emperor himself. So, Emperor Zenzong and his advisor, the 8th Prince, devise this massive ritual.
It's quite the production.
It takes them 2 days to build a 3-tier altar representing heaven, earth, and man. They set up 5 colored flags, blue, yellow, red, white, and black, to mimic a legendary ancient hero named Han Xin. Why all the highly specific set dressing?
Because they aren't just casting a magic spell. They are engineering a psychological reality. By invoking the heaven-earth-man triad, they are aligning Zongbao with the fundamental cosmic order.
Okay.
And by mimicking Han Xin, who is one of the most brilliant and famous military commanders in Chinese history, they are tapping into a deeply ingrained cultural memory of absolute success. They are setting a stage designed to project maximum historical and cosmic weight.
And then they bring Zongbao up to the altar. The emperor personally grants him this incredibly aggressive title, Heaven-Frightening Overlord, Zilao Conquering Formation-Breaking Upper General.
Every single character in that title is chosen to project overwhelming psychic force.
But the title alone isn't enough to cure the smell of milk vulnerability. This is where it's really strange. The emperor announces that because Zongbao is young, he, the emperor, is going to donate 1 year of his own age to Zongbao.
That's right.
And then the 8th Prince chimes in and says, well, if the emperor is donating a year, the gathered ministers will collectively donate another year.
They are literally pooling their conceptual age.
Yes, they do the math right there on the altar. Zongbao's actual age plus the emperor's donated year plus the minister's donated year makes Zongbao officially 16 years old in the eyes of the cosmos.
He's magically aged up.
Exactly. He is now mathematically a full adult. And the text says this specific ritual gives him 10,000 times the aura. They essentially crowdfunded his puberty.
I see the humor in crowdfunding puberty, but let's look at the underlying statecraft here. What is happening on that altar is a meticulous psychological mechanism designed to unify the army and fortify the commander's mind. Think about what authority actually is. You can't put authority under a microscope. It's an agreed-upon fiction.
Right. It only exists because everyone in the room agrees it exists.
Exactly. By having the emperor and the ministers, who are the physical embodiment of the state and the law, stand on a cosmically aligned altar and publicly invest their own age into Zongbao, they are creating an unbreakable shared reality. They're showing the entire army, we are putting our literal life force and our legal authority into this boy.
So for the soldiers watching, Zongbao isn't a fragile kid anymore. He's a walking vessel for the state's collective will. The emperor said he's 16, therefore, by imperial decree, the universe itself must treat him as 16.
And crucially, it works on Zongbao himself. His imposter syndrome vanishes because the highest power in the land just handed him a certified cosmic receipt that says, you are a fully grown overlord.
A cosmic receipt, I love that.
It's the ultimate placebo effect, institutionalized. If everyone believes the placebo is real, the magic actually functions.
So the next time the enemy shouts at him, they aren't shouting at a young boy. They're shouting at the combined conceptual age and authority of the entire Song dynasty. That's brilliant. Okay, so Zongbao is mentally armored up. He's got his crowdfunded age, his heaven-frightening title, and he's ready to take command.
He's prepared.
But before they can attack the Heavenly Gate Array, they need intelligence. They need to know how this magical fortress actually works.
Which brings us to a sequence that brilliantly exposes the vulnerabilities of massive, complex organizations.
Zongbao decides to send a scout, Zhao Zan, to go look at the enemy's magical array. Now, normally, when you send a scout into a dark, magical enemy fortress, you expect stealth, right? You expect hiding in the shadows, climbing walls in the dead of night, avoiding patrols. But Zhao Zan doesn't do any of that.
No, he takes a shockingly direct, almost mundane approach to penetrating an invincible magical defense.
He talks to a subordinate named Jiang Hai, and Jiang Hai says, look, if we just try to sneak in, we'll get caught. But my dad used to be a eunuch in the enemy's court, working directly for their Empress Shao, so I know exactly what her official royal seal looks like.
A very convenient connection.
Extremely. So what do? They forge an imperial edict, they carve a fake stamp, slap it on an official-looking piece of paper, and Zhao Zan just marches right up to the front door of the terrifying enemy camp in broad daylight.
The audacity is remarkable. Let's look at what he's walking up to. He approaches the Iron Gate Array, which is guarded by a fierce general named Ma Rong, whose defenses are described as being tight as an iron barrel.
Right, and Zhao Zan just walks up, waves this fake piece of paper and says, the Empress sent me to inspect the troops. And Ma Rong, this terrifying guardian of a magical iron barrel, says, oh, let me see the paperwork. He looks at the fake seal, nods, and literally opens the gate and lets an enemy general walk right in.
Ma Rong doesn't question the logic of the situation at all. He only verifies the stamp.
And it keeps happening. Zhao Zhan walks over to the blue dragon array. The guardian there, a guy literally named the Ironhead Tai Sui, yells at him, "Who dares disturb this place?" Zhao Zhan flashes the fake edict. "Empress sent me." The guy checks the seal, opens the gate.
It's foolproof.
He goes to the White Tiger, right? Same exact thing. They just keep opening these magical, invincible gates for him.
It's the ancient equivalent of putting on a high-vis vest, grabbing a ladder, and walking right through the front lobby of a secure server room. No one questions the guy with the clipboard.
I love that analogy, but wait, let me push back on the writing of the text here. Isn't this just lazy writing? Like, we've been told these arrays are deeply mystical, powered by stellar alignments and dark magic, and they are defeated by a fake stamp. It feels like a massive letdown.
It's really not lazy writing. It's a profoundly sharp critique of rigid hierarchical systems. The authors of this text clearly understood a fundamental truth about human organization. The weak point of any massive, complex system, whether it's a magical array in ancient literature or a modern multinational corporation, is blind obedience to protocol.
So the magic is bound by middle management.
Precisely. The guards at these arrays aren't trained to evaluate the reality of a threat. They are trained to recognize and obey the symbol of authority. When you build a system where questioning orders is punished and where power flows strictly from the top down, you make it incredibly easy for a bad actor with a fake badge to walk right through your strongest defenses. Zhao Zhan forged the symbol, so he hijacked the entire operating system of the enemy army.
It just shows that people trust the stamp on the paper more than their own eyes. Zhao Zhan is a famous enemy general. They should recognize his face.
You'd think so, yes.
But the paper says he's an inspector, so the paper must be right. It's hilarious, but it's also deeply true to how bureaucracies fail.
And it works perfectly until Zhao Zhan hits a part of the array that doesn't operate on standard military protocol.
Right. Zhao Zhan is having the time of his life, bluffing his way through the Iron Gate, the Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, just strolling through, checking things off his mental list. But then he hits the Lunar Array, also known as the Taiyin Array. And suddenly the vibe shifts from this funny, bureaucratic heist movie into something deeply, deeply disturbing.
Yes, the tone of the text fractures here.
Yeah.
The threat stops being logistical or bureaucratic and becomes heavily psychological and moral.
Zhao Zhan walks into the Lunar Array, and it is a nightmarescape. The text describes naked women, dark winds, black fog everywhere, and the leader of this array, a woman named Huang Kanyu, is standing there holding a human skull. The moment Zhao Zhan sees this, his confident bluff completely falls apart.
It shatters.
He gets dizzy, his vision spins, he almost faints entirely. He barely manages to stumble out and escape before the enemy commander realizes he's a spy and tries to hunt him down.
He is completely overwhelmed by the atmosphere.
He runs back to his camp and tells Zongbao and Daozong what he saw. And Daosan explains that this lunar array is tied to something called the Moonwater Star. Its entire purpose is to create psychic interference. Through crying sounds, dark energy, and these shocking visuals, it makes enemy generals so dizzy they fall off their horses.
Which is exactly the mechanic that defeated Zongbao earlier, just manifested differently.
But let's look at the specific imagery here. Why naked women and skulls? What is the text trying to communicate to the reader about the nature of this specific threat?
Well, to understand this, we have to look at the cosmological framework the authors are using. The concept of Taiyin, or the Grand Lunar, is deeply tied to yin energy. Now, as an advanced listener, you likely already know that yin is traditionally associated with the feminine, the moon, the dark, and the passive. It is a natural, essential part of the cosmic balance.
Sure.
But in the context of this array, that natural yin energy has been perverted and weaponized as dark magic.
So it's taking a fundamental law of nature and twisting it into something toxic.
Exactly. The nakedness of the women and the handling of human skulls aren't just there for cinematic shock value. In the highly structured, deeply moral, and heavily clothed society of the Song dynasty, which was governed by strict Confucian propriety, public nakedness, and the desecration of human remains, represent a complete and utter abandonment of civilized morality. It is the ultimate taboo.
It's pure chaos. It's the total breakdown of the social contract.
Yes. The magic of the lunar array works precisely by overwhelming the strict, moral, orderly minds of the Song generals with sheer chaotic taboo imagery. A proper Confucian general like Zhao Zhan literally cannot process what he is seeing. His mind rebels against the moral perversion of it. The dissonance between his structured worldview and the absolute chaos in front of him causes the dizziness and the physical collapse.
It's basically a psychological denial of service attack. The array throws so much inappropriate, chaotic, morally offensive data at his brain that his moral operating system just crashes.
That's a highly accurate way to frame it. The lunar array isn't attacking their bodies with swords or arrows, it is attacking their moral foundation. It is using shame and shock to bypass their physical armor, and that's why Taoist Zong tells Zongbao, we have to break this array first. Because if you leave this chaotic moral corruption intact, it will continuously undermine the mental stability of the entire army.
Makes sense.
You cannot fight a physical war if your army's psychological foundation is rotting.
But you can't just hit a denial of service attack with a sword. If the weapon is chaos and taboo, sending in a guy with a spear isn't going to fix it. Which leads perfectly into Zongbao's counterattack.
A very unconventional counterattack.
Zongbao listens to this intelligence, and he doesn't send his strongest, most heavily armored male warrior to go fight this dark magic. He knows the men will just get dizzy and fall over. Instead, he sends a woman. He sends a general named Golden-Headed Lady Ma to fight fire with, well, with shame.
This sequence is truly the thematic climax of the source material we're examining today. It brilliantly synthesizes all the threads of authority, morality, and psychology we've been discussing.
So Lady Ma leads her troops directly into the lunar array. She walks right into the dark fog, the crying sounds, and she encounters the naked commander, Huang Qiannu. But Lady Ma doesn't draw her sword. She doesn't engage in some epic, magical spear fight.
No, she doesn't fight physically at all.
She stops her horse, looks at her enemy, and just verbally destroys her.
The lecture she delivers is a masterpiece of rhetorical warfare.
I want to read the essence of what she yells, because the specificity is amazing. She says to this dark sorceress, "You are a famous general. You are a royal daughter of the Western Xia, yet you take up this lowly, shameful task, exposing your body without any sense of shame. Even if you win this battle, how will you ever have the face to look your lord in the eye again?"
It is devastating, precisely because it ignores the magic entirely.
And the result? Huang Qiannu doesn't cast a spell. She doesn't fight back. The text says she is so deeply ashamed by this lecture that she has absolutely no reply. She turns her horse around and flees the battlefield.
She literally runs away from a scolding.
Lady Ma literally scolded the magic out of existence. It's like stopping a cosmic supervillain who is destroying the city by just crossing your arms and asking them, "Does your mother know what you're doing right now?"
It's incredibly funny, but it's also profoundly deep. What Golden-Headed Lady Ma does is completely bypass the magical and physical threat by attacking Huang Qiannu's social and moral identity.
She changes the rules of the engagement. She refuses to play the game the sorceress set up.
Exactly. Huang Qiannu was operating in a manufactured reality where she was a terrifying, dark sorceress wielding chaotic yin energy. Lady Ma refuses to engage with that reality. Instead, she reminds Huang Qiannu of her actual political reality. You are a princess. You are a general of the Western Xia. You exist within a political and social hierarchy, and you have a lord back home who expects you to act with dignity.
She drags her out of the fantasy and violently back into the real world.
Yes. By invoking the concept of face, which, as we know, is the absolute bedrock of social currency in this culture, Lady Ma snaps Kong Nu out of her magical trance. The text is making a profound philosophical argument here. It is stating that strict moral propriety, social expectations, and the concept of shame are fundamentally stronger forces than any dark magic or physical weapon.
The magic relies on an absence of morality. The moment Lady Ma re-injects rigid moral context into the situation, the magic instantly dissolves. It evaporates because the sorceress suddenly remembers she is going to have to explain this outfit to her dad at the next royal banquet.
The social consequence outweighs the tactical advantage. Think about the power of a well-placed, undeniable truth in your own life. Have you ever been incredibly angry or caught up in some dramatic situation, and someone just calmly points out how absurd or beneath you your actions are?
Oh, absolutely. It's like popping a balloon.
The fog of whatever you were caught up in just dissipates. You feel that flush of shame, and the energy you were feeding the drama is just gone. That is exactly what Lady Ma weaponized. She used the undeniable truth of social expectation to break a spell that physical weapons couldn't touch.
That is just incredible.